All right, what's up, guys? Get my Instagram up here. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome. It is Thursday, and it's time for Semen Retention Talk. I am Johnathan White. I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can magnetize your ideal life. And today I'm going to be talking about the sexual kung fu lifestyle. So yeah, it's going to be a good one. How's everybody doing out there? Thanks for joining me today. I was gone last week. Had a really amazing trip to Sedona. Had a very powerful transformational journey there. Sedona is an absolutely magical place. You know, it's an energy vortex. Lots of energy vortexes there. Very spiritual place. Lots of amazing work happening. You know, I did a sweat lodge with a Native American guy down there. Did a lot of hiking. Did a UFO tour. Saw some crazy stuff. That was pretty interesting. So yeah, had a great time and feeling charged up. So this is going on in my life. Hey Sam, how's it going, brother? So sexual kung fu lifestyle, because this really is a lifestyle. You know, it's not just about semen retention. It's not just about sexual energy. It's about living the lifestyle. You know, it all fits together, right? Cultivating sexual energy empowers my life. It empowers my health, my mission in life, my ability to create abundance and things like that. So, and there's many factors to this. You know, I'm talking about semen retention a lot, and a lot of people are really focusing on this, but that is only one piece of the picture for me, right? For example, semen retention for men is just stopping the leak. So many men are addicted to porn. They're addicted to discarding their sexual energy constantly, and that's putting them into a depleted state. So by practicing retention, you're letting go of that pattern and you're rebuilding your core energy. But then it's a question of, well, what are you going to do with that energy now? And that's where a lot of the other practices come into. Like, for example, in the sexual kung fu practices are really focused on circulating your energy, circulating your qi, building your qi and harmonizing it, because it doesn't really necessarily do you good just to have a lot of energy. You know what I mean? It can just be driving you to do negative things, driving you to feel anger and things like that, right? So you don't necessarily want huge amounts of energy. At least what I want is balanced energy. It's about balance. It's about, again, keeping yourself healthy, happy, and harmonious. It doesn't do you much good to have all this energy if you're not healthy, if you're not balanced, if you're not happy with who you are and what you're doing in life. So that's where everything else fits into the picture. So for me, there's a lot of different things I'm working on, you know? It's about keeping your body healthy, keeping your mind healthy. Are you eating healthy? You know, are you eating organic foods? Are you eating real foods? Are you drinking clean water that doesn't have fluoride in it? Are you exercising your body? You know, keeping fit, keeping healthy. Are you exercising your mind? Are you studying? Are you educating yourself? You know, we can't really rely on our educational system, unfortunately, because most of what they teach us is just not true. We're taught lies. We're taught a lot of untrue things that disempower us as we, you know, go through the Western educational system. So we really have to educate ourselves. You know, you can't rely on the news for your, you know, you can't rely on mainstream news for true information, right? So it's like you really have to educate yourself. The history of the planet, where we really come from, who we truly are. You really have to, you know, I encourage you guys to study, to read. You know, so many people, in general, people are reading less books, you know, because people are so distracted by social media, by, you know, all this instant gratification, right? So many people we're becoming, quite frankly, uneducated, and especially here in America. You know, people don't really pick up books and read them anymore, right? So I really encourage you guys to study, to grow, to learn, you know, question the status quo, you know what I mean? So that's, you know, the mental aspect. You're developing your mind, developing your skills. What are you good at? You really want to get good at something and develop your skills, because that becomes what you have to offer with the world. Everyone has the opportunity to live a life that they truly enjoy. You don't have to work a 9-to-5 job. You don't need to be doing something that you hate. You know, I've been down that road, you know, feeling stuck in working a job I hated, and it leads to nowhere. It's a dead end. It really numbs your soul. So get good at the things that interest you. You know, maybe you want to become an artist. You want to become a musician or you know, an entrepreneur, whatever. Study whatever it is that interests you, develop your skill set, and then pursue that, right? So that's kind of the as far as your worldly path, right? But of course, to do these things, you have to have an abundance of energy. You have to be clear in your mind. You have to have a healthy body. So you see how all these things fit together. It's difficult to get clear about what you want in life and have the focus and drive to do that if you have a lot of toxicity in your body. You're drinking fluoridated water, you're eating McDonald's and things like that. You're not going to be able to think clearly. Therefore, you're not going to be able to focus on these things. You're going to live your life in a brain fog. So, people become addicted to drugs. They become addicted to watching television. Television is a drug, playing video games because they are unhappy in their lives. They feel stuck in their lives and are trying to numb themselves from feeling the pain that they're feeling. And, it's kind of a dead end again. So this is really what was so powerful for me about studying the ancient arts. I started with yoga, meditation. I started learning the Taoist practices, Qigong, Tai Chi, internal energy cultivation, because this is what will truly liberate you. This is very important because, what happens is our bodies are energetic in nature, right? We have all these energy meridians flowing through the body. They're like rivers of life force. And when we're young children, these pathways are open and they're clear, they're fluid. That's why we have so much energy. That's why we are so happy and joyful and creative and open and fluid. Children aren't so rigid about things as we are as adults. But when we start to experience traumas, we start to experience, negative emotions, conditioning, then we start to constrict the flow of life force in our bodies, and we become, we develop blockages. The flow of energy starts to decrease. This often happens as we go into our teenage years. We become depressed, and the flow of life force gets stuck. And a lot of people never get out of this phase. They never really get out of their teenage years. It kind of goes downhill after that for the rest of their life. But for me, again, in my early 20s, I discovered these internal energy practices and really helped me to clear these blockages I had, blockages in many, many different things, in my relationships to others, having low self-esteem, not having confidence. I had all these blockages, right? And doing this inner work helped me to clear these things, helped me to get things flowing, to step into my power that we all have as humans, to step into abundance, to be able to create what I truly want in my life. So again, it's really an internal discipline. And of course, sexual energy is a very important part of this, because it doesn't really matter, again, how spiritually evolved you are, how healthy your diet is and things like that, if your sexual energy is still stuck in this very animalistic expression, because that's always going to hold you back. I meet a lot of people who are very spiritually evolved, but they're still like addicted to porn and things like that. These things will always pull you back down and be like a huge burden on your shoulders. And your sexual energy is your creative power. It's the root, really, of your experience as a human is the sexual energy. It's what creates us. It's what recreates us, how we recreate ourselves. It's how our cells are multiplying and reproducing in our body. It's a sexual process. So by cultivating your sexual energy, you step into that, or you gain that power back, right? Instead of being depleted of it. So many men addicted to porn and shallow sex, they're depleting their energy. So when you, again, the practice of semen retention, you're building that energy back up. And then by doing the internal practices, you're circulating throughout the body. You can use that to amplify your spiritual path, to amplify your health, your happiness, your radiance, and your ability to create what you want in your life. And this is what, has made this path so empowering, so life-changing to me. And that's why I'm so passionate about sharing this with you guys, because it's really, incredible. So again, it's many things. You want to eat healthy, get your diet in check, eat organic, don't eat pesticides, don't eat GMOs, avoid alcohol, refined sugar, refined carbohydrates. That will help you feel better. You'll have more energy, more motivation. Drink water that's not fluoridated. Very important. Fluoride is, it's basically a chemical. It's a neurotoxin that is used to control populations. So stop drinking fluoride, detoxify your pineal gland. That will get your hormones back in balance. Educate yourself, study, learn, grow. Don't waste your time watching, entertaining videos that you don't get anything from. Study and learn, develop your skills, become good at things, have something of value to add to the world, and you will always be taken care of. You will become very abundant when you're living in line with that which you're passionate about. And again, cultivate your energy, train your mind through meditation to undo all the conditioning that's been put on us, learn the true history of this planet. I encourage you to study esoteric history, study a lot of the things that are kind of happening behind the scenes of what's been projected to us at the mass media level, and develop your chi, build your chi, practice Qigong, practice yoga, learn to cultivate chi, and that will give you more juice to create whatever you want to. Your health will drastically improve, your ability to create and manifest will drastically improve, and you become a very causal, sovereign being. Have your creative powers. That is our birthright as humans, is to be superhuman. The human population has been slaves for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, but things are changing. People are starting to wake up to the fact that the world has been controlled by an elite few. There's a lot of secret technology being withheld from us. Free energy has existed since at least the early 1900s. There's no reason that we cannot be living in abundance, having absolutely every need met, every person on this planet. The only reason that is not so is because there's a small portion of the population that wants to keep everyone under control as slaves, and that's where we are today. But the light is increasing, therefore it's casting the shadows, and we see the darkness now. It's emerging. We're in this kind of collective dark night of the soul, and it's part of the awakening process, and it's up to each of us to choose where to go from here. Do we want to keep living, out these stories of fear, keep just trying to get the biggest television, get the nicest car? Or do we want to awaken to our higher potential, reconnect with nature, reconnect with harmony and balance, treat each other with respect and decency and kindness, right? And live in abundance, right? Create from passion, create from inspiration, instead of just regurgitating fear-based information that we saw in the news. You know what I mean? So it's time to shift these things, guys. And sexual kung fu practices are going to be a major tool in your process of stepping into who you truly want to be. So there it is, guys. A lot of information just dropped, I know, and I'm gonna answer some questions now. Something I want to share with you guys also, shungite is an incredible stone. It's just a stone, and it absorbs toxicity from the body. It also protects you from EMF. It's a powerful EMF protector. We're being bombarded with EMF from our phones, from our the electrical wiring in our houses, not even to mention 5G that's rolling out. It's one of the biggest threats on humanity and could lead to our extinction if we aren't aware of this. So protect yourself from EMF. Shungite is amazing. I like to carry it with me. And yeah. All right, now I'm gonna answer some questions. My problem is that sometimes I like to indulge in my animal self. I mean, it's not necessarily, it's about balance, right? There's going to be, some sort, like it's like the different energy centers, we could say. We've got the root chakra, the second, kind of the basic human experiences. It's not that there's anything necessarily wrong, with those experiences. There's nothing wrong inherently with sexual desire, but it's when that becomes your primary experience, that's the only expression you have, that it becomes a bit of an imbalance. So it's about balancing everything. If you can balance animalistic sexual expression with love and compassion and higher spiritual connection, then you've got the whole package, right? What practice works best for you in keeping your present to the moment? You mean like keeping your attention in the moment, thereby making your creative process most efficient? So yeah, how do you keep yourself in the moment, right? Basically, how do you live in the flow state? And there's many, formal techniques we could say. It's going to be different for everyone. What helps me stay in the present moment, get in my body, and be in the flow, in the zone. Practicing Qigong, practicing meditation is very, very helpful for me, doing breath work, things like that, because it clears out your mind, clears out your energy channels, helps you get fresh and new. I'm especially finding it important to spend time in nature. I try to spend at least an hour out in nature every day, walking in the hills, feet on the earth, whatever. Spending time in nature always puts me in the flow. when you spend an hour in nature, scientifically, it's been proven that your intelligence increases, your memory increases. Typically you get into the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest state. Your overall your overall health improves, right? So spending time in nature, I find very, very important as well. How do you spell the name of the stone? So I'm talking about shungite, Shungite, shungite. You can actually use it to purify water as well. Does Angean Method boost erections only temporarily? Not if you have to do it consistently. It's not something like you do it a few days and then that's it. The Angean Method is something that develops over, basically you have to be consistent with it for several months, at least. But I've had great effects from using it. Okay, psychological erectile dysfunction. Good question. For me, what was very helpful was training in sexual kung fu. Not that I never, erectile dysfunction was never really an issue for me. There was, I had some experiences where I couldn't get it up, but anyways, sexual kung fu was very, very helpful for me because you develop this confidence, when you learn and train yourself to last longer in bed, to control your ejaculation. For me, it developed a sense of confidence. I think a lot of psychological erectile dysfunction is a lack of confidence. You're in your head, you're out of your body and you're in your head. You're thinking, you're worrying, you're in fight or flight mode, right? So practicing Qigong, meditation, breath work helps you get into your body and out of your head. That helps you, right away with psychological erectile dysfunction. It also really boosts your vitality, boosts your gene, your energy. So you just feel much more potent. So, anything to improve your confidence, get out of your head and into your body is going to be helpful for you. A universe creation theory. I don't think the Big Bang is exactly what happened, but I don't know, there's a lot of theories on it. Okay, how do we increase libido? So how do you increase your libido? I made a video on exactly this, but basically a lot of the things I was talking about in this video: healthy diet, exercise your body, have healthy circulation, build your gene. The gene's your physical essence, your sexual energy, basically. Taking tonic herbs, herbs that boost your kidneys. Kidney energy is sexual energy in Chinese medicine. So herbs that strengthen the kidneys: goji berries, he shou wu, astragalus, schizandra. These are some great herbs you can take. Practicing Qigong really boosts your vital energy and is going to increase your libido. So yeah, maca powder is great as well. Getting enough zinc. How was my Jedi training? It was fantastic. You're talking about my recent vlog on YouTube. That was actually from like June. I was in Montana. It took me a while to get that together and post it, but yeah, I had a fantastic time. I've got another one coming of my North Carolina trip, which is in July, when I went and studied with Michael Wynn. So I'll be posting that at some point. During my chi circulation training, sometimes I slip up and go over the edge. Is there a way or technique to preserve some chi after or during ejaculation? Okay, so you're practicing sexual techniques and you accidentally ejaculate. First of all, it's important to understand that when you're learning the sexual kung fu practices, inevitably you're going to ejaculate here and there. It's nothing to beat yourself up about. It's not that big of a deal. You will recover. It's kind of an investment in your future, right? And kind of the benefit of it is that when you do accidentally ejaculate, it kind of helps you learn where your edge is. It's like, okay, that was too far. And then you start to really, really get to know your body and what's going to push you over the edge. But as far as recovering from it, a few things you can do. when you hit the ejaculation, or like you're right at that point of no return, stop all stimulation, even like stand up, try to think about something else, squeeze muscles in your body. You can squeeze your pelvic floor, and that will often, cause less intense ejaculation. But as far as recovery, check out my YouTube video on how to recover from ejaculation. I share some good resources there. What are my thoughts on Tantra? It's something that a lot of people should look into. I've recently discovered it while on the journey, and I find it to be amazing. Yeah, I mean, I practice and teach a lot of tantric practices. The quality will vary. Tantra is a word that a lot of people throw around a lot these days. A lot of Tantra is basically Western sexual therapy with some like Eastern terms linked into it, kind of appropriated. The origins of Tantra it wasn't inherently a sexual practice. It was basically just a path like yoga. Tantra means to weave together, to intertwine. Mostly it was an overall energy cultivation, spiritual cultivation path that happened to include some sexual practices, much like the Taoist traditions. So it wasn't exclusively sexual practices, but that's, kind of what it's being known as now. And, people teaching Tantra, their skills, their knowledge, their abilities will vary. There's some great teachers out there, and there's some, perverts who are just kind of acting out their sexual issues, trying to put like a spiritual theme on it, right? So, again, the quality will vary, but overall, true tantric practices, yes, are very powerful. Beef liver, yeah. Grass-fed beef liver can be a powerful gene booster if you do animal products. Am I looking forward to December 21st? As much as I look forward to anything, I guess. I try to stay in the here and now, but yeah, there's supposed to be, I forget exactly what it is, some kind of timeline shift or alignment on December 21st. Some people think that it's the true, kind of Mayan calendar. The whole December 21st, 2012 thing is actually 2020, that there's a miscalculation. I don't know. But in general, I'm keeping myself in balance and harmony, just not for any occasion. So we'll see what happens. When I'm doing solo cultivation, I can take it to a 1-hour session, but after 35 to 40 minutes, I usually lose erection when doing reverse Kegels to relax down there. Any advice? It's normal for your erection to kind of come and go during sex or during solo cultivation. If you really have trouble keeping it up though beyond that, then it could just be you don't have the gene, you don't have the chi to hold an erection for that long. So boosting your gene, boosting your sexual energy, things like that will help. Or just it's a matter of training yourself to build your endurance. You can also do the penis exercises to improve blood flow, to improve your erections as well. Does semen retention while working with the microcosmic orbit make your emotions more stable? I'm over emotional and sometimes takes me over. Could it be a problem of imbalance in my energy channel? Feeling over emotional. Is the Angean method good for increasing penis size, and where can I find it? It may develop your penis size. It really develops the blood vessels in your penis. The guy who created it says it improved his penis size, so it can help with that. But just look up Angean Method, Angion. The guy's got a channel here on YouTube. Just look it up, you'll find it. Really great techniques. I'm like promoting these techniques because again, someone turned me onto them, and I've had incredible results. Before I was doing kind of the more traditional penis exercises, sharpening the sword, like the jelqing exercises and stretching, but those can be very forceful and actually damage yourself if you do them too excessively. So I find the Angean method a lot more gentle, and I'm getting really good results from it. Okay, I just had spiritual sex. My energy was charged. I don't not ejaculate. I'm thinking you're saying you didn't ejaculate, and I feel like energy is stuck in my sacral chakra. What can I do about it? Okay, you had non-ejaculatory sex, and you feel like your energy's stuck. This is pretty normal. This is why, I only recommend you really practice retention if you know how to circulate your sexual energy. Otherwise, yeah, you're just going to have this stagnant buildup of sexual energy that can become very uncomfortable. The remedy to this is working with a microcosmic orbit. I've got some videos of this on my YouTube channel. Also learning a practice called testicle breathing, which helps you to directly channel the sexual energy throughout your body. Otherwise, yeah, you just build up all this pressure down there and it's not very pleasant. Notice that I feel anxious after any type of sexual activity. I have to be abstinent for long periods of time to feel good. My question, how do I know when to have intercourse? Will my body tell me? It's difficult to say. Are you ejaculating when you're having sexual activity? There could be many causes to this. Maybe you need more grounding, get more in your body. Maybe it's the people you're connecting with or what, it's difficult to say exactly. Okay, how often do you recommend engaging in sexual acts? Depends what you mean by sexual acts. It depends, with a partner, with yourself, what's your goals, whatever. In general, sex is very, well, depending on how you're approaching sex. For a man, non-ejaculatory sex, frequently, daily is very, very good for your health and your longevity because it activates your endocrine system, activates your testosterone. When you ejaculate, you lose all of that, and if it's just now and then, it's not as big of a deal. But if you're ejaculating every day and having sex every day, it's going to deplete you. But if you're having non-ejaculatory sex, you're circulating the energy through your body. Again, you're boosting your endocrine system. Also, there's a yin-yang exchange during sex. You're absorbing your partner's yin energy. If you're having sex with a woman, you're absorbing their yin. You're giving them your yang. So there's this balance, and it really, really nourishes you. It boosts your health. So in ancient China, they had what was known as medical sexology, where basically a doctor would prescribe certain sexual positions for, certain amounts of time per day for certain issues, and they use that to heal themselves. So sex can be very healing, but only if you do it harmoniously. So, it's really up to you, whatever you want. Okay, here's a question from Instagram. Difference between prostatic fluid and semen. So I think you're talking about the Cowper's fluid, which, pre-cum, pre-ejaculate fluid, which is clear. It's completely clear. It's a bit sticky, but it's clear. That's the pre-ejaculate fluid. The semen itself is going to be white and, different consistencies. Usually it's a bit thick though. So if it's white, then it's got semen in it. After having full body orgasms in a marathon session, do you have any sexual kung fu practices to calm your energy afterwards? Well, I find at the end of, lovemaking with my partner, we often just lay passively together, just like lay completely still. And that maybe for, 5-10 minutes longer, it depends. But just in general, you're still connected, but you're just completely passive laying together, just kind of meditating, just kind of allowing the energy to circulate between you. For me, I find that incredibly balancing and calming. And typically I feel quite calm after that. You can also do some kind of calming meditation, something like that. I've been doing your guided Qigong daily. I'm quarantined indefinitely and have no sexual partner. How do I manage all of this sexual energy? It's very tough. Well, that's the whole thing about, what I'm teaching in sexual kung fu is that you want to circulate the sexual energy, working with the microcosmic orbit, testicle breathing. These practices help you circulate the sexual energy through your body to disperse it from the genitals, but also it's important to keep yourself productive. You need something, again, as I was talking about earlier in this video, it's not necessarily good to have a ton of energy if it's not balanced. So if you don't have something to do with that energy, it's going to drive you crazy. So you really have to keep yourself busy, exercise, maybe building a business, creativity, whatever. You need to put that energy into something. And at the same time, meditating and circulating it throughout your body. A lot of guys get in, they get into no fap semen retention, just like, okay, well, I just don't ejaculate and everything's good. But a lot of sexual pressure builds up. And if you're not keeping it balanced, you're not circulating it, you're not putting it into something, it's going to drive you insane. It's really not that fun. So that's my recommendation. No, I'm not. I wish I was still in Sedona. I'm back in Boise, Idaho. Sedona is probably my favorite place on this planet I've been to. I've been to a lot of different places, but Sedona is very magical, very powerful energy there. I always feel just amazing when I'm there. Maybe I'll move there. We'll see. I've thought about it. We'll see. Do women also lose energy when having orgasms? Typically, no. Definitely not in the way that men do, because men are discharging semen, which has a lot of nutrients, enzymes, vitamins, minerals in it, and your life force, concentrated in this fluid, and you're ejecting that out of your body. But women, typically, they don't lose energy the way men do through orgasms. Sometimes clitoral orgasms, the more external orgasms, can be a bit tiring for them, but it's not quite as depleting as ejaculating is for a man. But women do lose energy through menstruation. So for men, it's about semen retention. For women, it's about blood retention. They can learn to actually lessen the intensity of their periods. In fact, it's possible for them to completely eliminate the period, but that takes you have to be a serious practitioner to do that in a balanced way. Do I recommend taking maca? If you want to boost your sexual energy and your fertility, then yes, maca is great. I take maca pretty regularly. What's the technique called again? I'm not sure which technique you're talking about. Okay, to increase testosterone, reduce your stress, healthy diet, get plenty of sleep, exercise, lift weights, retain your semen. There's certain, foods you can take to boost your testosterone as well. Get enough zinc. Take Tonkat Ali and Tribulus has been shown to boost testosterone. Pine pollen is really great as well. Okay, do I think semen retention can help with mental health, depression, anxiety? I can't make any claims here. It really depends on the underlying causes. A lot of men experience anxiety, depression because they are addicted to porn. They're ejaculating too much. You lose a lot of zinc. The body secretes prolactin, which inhibits testosterone and causes you to live in a brain fog and feel anxiety and depression. So that can be a cause of it, in which case semen retention will completely eliminate that. But if there's other reasons, maybe there's something in your life you're not addressing, maybe you have a miserable job, you're not doing something that fulfills you, and that's what's giving you depression and anxiety, or you're always watching the news, hanging out with negative people. So practicing semen retention may not necessarily help that, right? And there's also the factor that when you're practicing semen retention, you're building up sexual energy. As again, building up your energy isn't necessarily good or bad. You just have more energy. So if you have a lot of underlying unconscious patterns that you're not addressing and you start pouring sexual energy into them, it can amplify these things, right? So again, it really depends what's causing it. That's why I stress a balanced approach of energy cultivation in conjunction with semen retention instead of just going to semen retention, if that makes sense. I don't think semen retention has anything to do with building of energy. Well, I disagree. Again, I used to ejaculate every day. I felt very depleted, very unmotivated. Once I started practicing semen retention, my energy increased tremendously. I mean, how do you feel? Let's say you're having sex, right before you ejaculate, you're at maximum arousal. How does your energy feel then? And then you ejaculate. How do you feel after that? It's a very obvious loss of energy. Do I do any form of martial arts? I practice some. I used to do some more kind of external forms of martial arts. I'm not really interested in those anymore. I practice internal martial arts. I practice Tai Chi, Xingyi, Bagua. They're internal because they're Qi based and they're not, force external muscle based. But I don't really practice them so much as a combat. I'm more just interested in the cultivation of energy. Okay, the Angean method is the method that really boosts your erection quality. It's spelled Angion. Just Google it or look on YouTube. You'll find the guy who creates it. He talks about it, or he teaches it, Angean method. Really fantastic. What is the importance of sunlight on the spiritual level? I mean, sunlight is important on all levels, right? When we don't get sun on our skin, that's how we get vitamin D naturally. It improves our hormones, improves our mood, our overall balance. Getting sunlight, very, very important for us. When we live in the houses when you're in a house all day, when you're living in big cities, you're usually vitamin D deficient. Your hormones suffer, your mood suffers. People get seasonal depression because they never see the sun. Well, some people never are in the sun, then they're depressed all the time, right? So, I mean, the sun it's the radiance, it's the yang, it's the prime, it just illuminates, it just shines on everything, right? And on kind of a spiritual level, you can absorb that as well. If you have an ejaculatory orgasm while training, how long does it take to recover from prolactin release? There's many factors to why you feel depleted, but how long it takes to recover from an ejaculation, it really depends on your health, your age, your diet, how much you exercise. For some men, it takes days to recover. If you're really depleted, it will take you days. But if you're in really good health, and especially the thing is if you're doing sexual kung fu practices, like you're circulating the sexual energy out of the genitals, moving it through the body, then often if you ejaculate, you don't even feel like you've lost anything because you're able to actually capture that energy. So it really varies on, many factors. Yes, I'm quite familiar with Wu Qigong, Primordial Qigong. It is a pretty incredible form. So this was, I learned it from Michael Wynn. I studied versions from some other people as well because Michael kind of changed some things from the original version. He kind of made it his own thing, but he teaches it in a great way. I'm not discrediting him, but Wu Qigong, this was a practice developed by Johnathan, who was one of the supposedly the original creator of Tai Chi. But he created Tai Chi supposedly as more of a martial application of energy cultivation, right? But he supposedly also created this spiritual Tai Chi form, which is the Wu Qigong, or Primordial Qigong, as many people call it. It's a very, very powerful form. It's kind of a Shen Gong. It's a spiritual cultivation form. And in this form, you move through the 4 directions. So you move in a counterclockwise circle, but as you end the form, you're facing one more direction to the right. So it's kind of this counter spirals. And so it works with feng shui. You're gathering qi from all the directions. You're working with 5 elements. It also corresponds to the I Ching, the way that you move, the weight shifts and things like that. So it's an incredible form. I've had some very interesting experiences with it. I've used it as kind of a tool for spiritual alignment, for manifestation. You can plug manifestation into this form. At the beginning and the ending, you set your intention and kind of repeat it through the form. All right, here's a good story. A few months after I learned this form, this was back in 2016, so 4 years ago, I was going on a trip to Colorado to learn something called Qigong Song, which is an internal organ massage. And I was like, I need to, I was kind of broke at the time. I was like, I really need some money for this trip. I really want to do this trip. So I was putting that into my Primordial Qigong form. I was like, all right, I need some money for this trip. I literally, was like reaching under my pillow one day. I literally pulled out a stack of $500, cash. I didn't put it there. I lived alone. No one came in and put it there. I just this stack of cash just appeared, I was pretty mind blown from that. So what I'm saying is this is a very powerful form for manifestation. So I do recommend it, basically. Tantric Mongoose. I have not heard of him, so I can't really comment about that. So the thing of you see the videos of the guys that are they're putting their hands on top of a woman. She's like, oh, she's having an orgasm, right? Some of this is legit. Some of it's not legit. It really depends on the person. Some people are very, very open to having these kind of energetic orgasms. It's often used as kind of a marketing pitch to, sell their stuff. And we all are making a living and stuff. But to me, it kind of becomes more of a carnival act. Like this show. Than is it legit or not? I don't know. I can't really comment too much on it, but it may be worth exploring. I am a loner and feel that something is wrong with me. I have been practicing semen retention since a long time. Is being a loner fine? I don't feel like living with roommates. There's nothing wrong with this. I think it's I'm kind of this way myself. I always, in my childhood, I really almost preferred to be by myself. Friends would always want to hang out. I was like, nah, I want to go, I want to go play with my imaginary friends out in the forest or whatever, when I was a kid. So I've always kind of had this very independent nature. I always preferred living by myself. I like to have plenty of alone time. And I think it's fine. A lot of people kind of avoid being alone because they don't want to kind of face themselves and go within themselves, right? So people who spend a lot of time alone tend to really get to know themselves. They tend to, be very intelligent because they're spending their time on more productive things than just, mindless socializing. Obviously, socializing is important as well, but basically I'm saying I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Is it realistic not to ejaculate at all? I don't think it's realistic to never, ever ejaculate. And this is not really what I'm, teaching. I'm teaching about balance, right? Because in my experience and, a lot of research I've seen, if a man never ejaculates, if he goes months and months, maybe years without ejaculating, the endocrine system tends to actually atrophy. Your hormones will actually decrease. So I think that an occasional ejaculation is a good idea, just to make sure you're clearing out old fluids, make sure things still work down there, and to keep the endocrine system flowing. So how often that is for you, I find my sweet spot to be every 4 to 6 weeks having an ejaculation during sex. Again, I've experimented with going much longer than that. I've tried shorter periods, and that is just my sweet spot. I feel the most energized, happy, harmonious, and balanced with that interval. Again, for me, it's all about balance. So that's my take on that. Are uncontrolled pelvic floor contractions also occurring during energetic orgasms? And what are you transmuting from your sexual energy to in your life? Greece from Germany. Typically, the more energetic orgasms, some people may have the pelvic floor contractions. I don't. For me, it's like a full body kind of energetic contraction. It's very, again, it's different than genital-based orgasm. So you're not really looking for that same. This is a mistake a lot of men run into, is when they're learning to have non-ejaculatory orgasms, especially the energetic full body ones, they're expecting the exact same sensations and experience as an ejaculatory orgasm, but without the ejaculation. This is not really the case. It's a different experience. It's a bit more subtle in the beginning, but for me, it usually starts as like this feeling of like butterflies in my stomach. And as I relax and surrender to that, because if I kind of tense up, it usually kills it. But if I relax into that kind of surrender, breathe deeply, it starts to spread throughout my body. And there's usually like this emotional opening. I feel very connected to my partner. If it really like moves up in my head, I have this like, kind of spiritual opening as well. And time and space are kind of distorted. So yeah. Do you think that in order to be fully healed from porn, one should avoid sex for a while? It depends. It may be a good idea because you do have to kind of like rewire yourself, your approach to sexuality, your experience of it, getting out of that goal-oriented approach of like very physically mindset. Like I just need to, thrust into this person and rush to an ejaculatory orgasm. So sometimes it may be good to have a period of time where you're just kind of celibate, right? That's how it was for me. It was like 2 years I was single when I was studying sexual kung fu, and I was like really getting deep into the stuff. And I got really good at the practices. And by the time I was in a relationship again, my whole approach to sexuality was completely different and evolved, I would say. Kegel exercises are healthy or secure. Kegels can be beneficial, but I only recommend doing Kegels if you also do reverse Kegels. Otherwise, most people tell you, yeah, you just need to squeeze your pelvic floor during sex, do a lot of Kegels. The problem with this is that it can develop hypertension in your pelvic floor. So you'll notice if your penis is being stimulated and you contract your pelvic floor in response, then you have these hypertension patterns that can cause premature ejaculation. So, what was the question? Oh yeah, yes. Kind of lost my frame of mind there. So yeah, Kegels are good only if you're going to do reverse Kegels, and don't do Kegels every day. I recommend doing them every other day, but you can do Kegels, reverse Kegels every day. What kind of breathing exercises do I teach for clearing negative energy or emotional trauma? I teach a practice that I call transformational breath work. So you do this intense breathing for 30, 40 minutes, and it puts you into a deep altered state. You'll have very psychedelic experiences often. It totally like clears out your body, opens you up. It's very, very powerful. So that's one tool I teach. Also, I teach a practice called 6 healing sounds, which is basically a breathing practice. You're breathing into each organ. You're releasing negative energies from that organ using different sounds as you exhale, and that's very powerful as well. Where did Genghis Khan get all his energy for his colossal waste of semen? Well, it came from his body, right? Obviously, there's men who can ejaculate a lot, but the thing is like you can think of it as having a bank account. It seems like it's endless. When you're a teenager, when you're in your 20s, it seems like you can just endlessly ejaculate because nothing's really happening, right? Especially in your teenage years, it's just like 5 minutes later you're ready to go again. But you don't realize that you only have, you have $1 million in your bank account, but you're just like going on a spending spree. Most guys are in their 20s and 30s. And then all of a sudden in your 30s, you're having erectile dysfunction, your hair's falling out, you're balding, your kidneys are drying up, you age accelerated. So this is the thing. It's not like you ejaculate once, you lose everything. No, it's just you have so much energy, and what are you going to do with it? Are you going to spend it recklessly? Are you going to manage it? Are you going to invest it? And things like that. This Chinese medicine is a lot of, based on this concept of Jing, managing your physical essence. There's a lot of scientific research studying this, such as, a study in China shows that men's testosterone increases after 7 days of semen retention by 150%. There's also a study where they took different groups of worms, and basically these worms that were ejaculating as normal lived half as long as the worms that were having sex but not ejaculating. So it's quite interesting. Again, if you don't want to believe in semen retention, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. But I encourage you to try it. Go a week without ejaculating. Just notice what changes for you. That's really the way to see whether or not it's true. In sex, when going slow, it's harder to control. Or when going slow in sex, it's easier to control. When going more fast, it's harder. Do I have any advice to keep control in the fast moments? So, this is where the sexual kung fu practices come in, right? Being able to last long, even during vigorous sex. Working with your breath is very important. Keep your breath deep from your belly. Keep it really deep. Also, the sexual kung fu practices involve channeling, because all this, you feel this pressure building up in your genitals, all this arousal is building up. You move that throughout your body. So that's, basically the methods. That's why I teach my 6-week course. I've got some different videos on my YouTube channel as well for moving the arousal out of the genitals. Is there any specific thrusting techniques one can use for full body orgasms and to last longer? As far as full body orgasms, there's not really a technique where it's just like that does it, because again, it's more of a state of orgasm that you have to open up into. It's a bit more of a yin feminine experience, honestly. You have to kind of surrender into it. You can't force your way into this like the ejaculatory orgasm. So no single really technique will get there. As far as lasting longer, avoiding. So let's say this is your penis. You want to be in a position where you avoid stimulating this area of your penis. This is the frenulum. This is basically the ejaculation trigger, you will notice, right? So, for example, the doggy style type position tends to really stimulate that area. So if you have trouble lasting long, maybe avoid that position. With the partner on top, it might be better. You have to do some experimenting with it. Hey, Adam, what's up, brother? Thanks for joining. Adam's a sexual kung fu master. He's been at it for a while now. How long did you, floating station, how long did you practice semen retention for? I'm curious. Yeah, it was last October, right, Adam? You joined the group? My YouTube channel is called Sexual Kung Fu. Okay, so you went 10 days. It's, the thing is like, first of all, you may just not be as depleted as everyone else, so you don't notice as much of a difference. Some men, it takes much longer. Some men are so depleted that it takes them months to actually build back up the energy to actually feel something, right? So there's many factors to it, right? And if it's not for you, then it's not for you. But I'm depleted actually. So going 10 days one time, then giving up on it. You probably just didn't really maybe didn't do it long enough for yourself to get the results and things like that. Jeremy says it took him 2 weeks. It took me years to gain back the gene that I had, recklessly spent in my early 20s, right? I'm not saying that I retained for years straight, but just in general, practicing retention, really, really cutting back on ejaculation. It took me a couple of years to actually get that energy back. For me, it's not really about theories. It's about what I tangibly experience in my body. I'm not about just sharing things I read. I'm about what have I personally experienced. And there's a lot of men who are testifying to this as well. So if you don't want to do semen retention, that's fine. But don't go telling everyone else that it doesn't work, because clearly it does. Or there wouldn't be, all these guys coming out with NoFap and semen retention telling about how it's completely changed their life. Did you face plateaus even through times of steady practice, and how did you overcome them to reach a new orgasmic experience or energy level? There's always been, challenges and kind of brick walls here and there in my practice. For me, sometimes it was, for example, I was studying. Okay, I'll talk about a time when I specifically kind of hit a plateau. First was when I was just learning from books. I was reading Montauk Chia's books and some other, whoever was talking about the stuff, not many people. And I was practicing with the books, and I was able to do some of it, but wasn't really getting that far with it, right? I was able to have some non-ejaculatory sex, but I wasn't really in complete control, and I didn't really have that orgasmic experience. So it was like going and studying with a teacher that really took me to the next level in that. And then I had some kind of plateaus in my personal energy practice, my Qigong practice. I had been studying almost exclusively in the healing Tao system till a few years ago. And, I love healing Tao. I love, what they teach, but there's a few things they kind of neglect in the foundation, such as building the lower Dantian, how to really build that. And once I learned how to do that, I was studying with a different system, and they're like, this is the first thing you must do before you do anything else, is actually really build your lower Dantian. I was like, wow, a lot of people are neglecting this. So I built the lower Dantian, and it like really, really amplified, my practice, kind of things like that. Right. So that's why like one of the first practices in my course is the Dantian building method now. I've noticed that having sex with someone I really love automatically makes me last twice as long. I think that's a great point you're bringing up. It's that emotional connection during sex. Whenever you're approaching sex directly through lust, it's always going to be a lower center experience, and it's going to very likely bring you to ejaculation, maybe very quickly, because it's an animalistic expression, right? It's that lower center. So when you love someone, when you feel a connection with someone, which, it's kind of what I recommend if you're going to have sex with someone, you should feel a connection to them because you're going to take on a lot of their patterns, right? When you love someone, it activates the heart, it activates the higher centers, it unifies and balances that intense sexual fire, kind of cools it down, right? And it opens you up. So that feeling opens up your body, the feeling of love, it opens you up and creates a new pathway for the sexual energy to move in, other than just being stuck in the genitals and ejaculating. So yeah, I think you're making a great point there. So when building Dantian, I should also set aside time to reverse Kegel. Yes, definitely. I recommend doing reverse Kegels with that. If you're retaining while having sex, doesn't it build up more sperm that will release through wet dream? I mean, your body's producing semen whether or not you're having sex. So it's not really like that. It will help. I mean, it boosts the activity of your endocrine system, but your semen production doesn't necessarily increase or decrease. It's difficult to say. There hasn't been a lot of studies on this, but in my experience, having a fully sexually active life while doing semen retention has been very beneficial to me, especially because when you're working with the microcosmic orbit, you're harvesting that energy from your semen, you're moving it through your body, you're kind of cooking it, steaming it, right? Internal alchemy. And you're transforming that raw sexual drive into something a bit higher, a bit more refined, and storing that in your body. But the issue is that if you're unable to release the sexual pressure, so having non-ejaculatory sex without the skill to circulate the energy through your body, it can cause this buildup that leads to blue balls or maybe wet dreams. Do you ever release your semen, or have you held it in for a long period? As I was talking about a little bit ago, I found, on my path, I've been doing sexual kung fu practices, been practicing semen retention for 7 years. What I found experimenting with different intervals, because, a lot of people are like, you have to retain it forever. And that's what I was on. And I noticed that after a long period of time, my energy was decreasing. It was like my hormones were actually decreasing, right? So after experimenting with different durations, what I found was that releasing during sex every 4 to 6 weeks makes me feel the most energized, the most balanced, and the most juicy overall. That's what works for me based on, and not to mention I'm doing sexual kung fu practices to build my sexual energy, to circulate it through my body. So when I do release 4 to 6 weeks, I don't feel any energetic change. It took me a few years to get to that though, but yeah. Can you focus the sexual energy to emulate an orgasm in another part of the body, like a heart chakra orgasm? Yeah, you definitely can. In my 6-week course, I teach how to bring the energy into different organs, bring it into the glands and things like that, and to have a subtle orgasm in those areas. And when you have a full body orgasm, it's often just like, your whole body, it's happening there. Is Qigong alone a sufficient practice to circulate sexual energy? Not necessarily. It depends. There's many forms of Qigong. There's a lot of different Qigong forms. They all do something different. In general, it does help you to, again, open your energy channels, move energy through your body. Sometimes that may naturally cause you to move sexual energy through your body, but generally it takes a specific type of Qigong to move the sexual energy, which is what, the testicle breathing practice I teach you on YouTube does. And I teach other practices in my course. Does semen retention cause acne? Because I never had to deal with acne until I started practicing semen retention. My skin is getting messed up. 24. In general, me personally, and a lot of other people say that semen retention made acne go away. Acne can be very related to hormones, but it can also be related to what you're eating, your diet, things like that. It could also be hormonal changes from semen retention causing a change in your hormones, and that may manifest as acne. I'm not an expert on this, so there could be various reasons for it. But in general, it seems that most guys say that their acne goes away when they practice semen retention. All right, guys, I'm answered a couple more questions, and I'm going to jump off of here. Collecting heaven, sun and moon circulations with the hands, holding the ball position is what I do daily. Those are solid forms. It'll at least keep your energy circulating. It may not be enough for sexual transmutation, but it'll definitely help. It at least, gets things circulating. I'm new to your channel, how to start semen retention. I recommend that you have new things to put your energy into, keep yourself busy, do energy circulation practices, be doing meditation, Qigong, yoga, things like that. Otherwise, when the energy builds up, it'll just drive you crazy. You need to be able to transmute it, keep yourself busy, keep yourself creative. I've got a lot of videos on my YouTube channel about how to stay balanced on semen retention. Are power locks necessary for energetic full body orgasm? Is this Paul, the drummer from Germany? Paul Owl. I'm not sure how to say your last name. Is that you, Paul? Try to look at your profile picture. But to answer the question, no, power locks aren't necessary for the full body orgasm. It is you, Paul. Hey, brother. No, the power locks are not necessary to have full body orgasm. Kind of what my practice is like now is really relaxing. I use power locks just as a method of, and they're really helpful when you're learning this because it's a method to like really powerfully draw out that sexual energy. And I find that after doing the power locks, I do get into more of a, like my full body's activated with the sexual energy, and I'm much more likely to have the full body orgasm. But in general, it's, again, there's no real technique to get into full body orgasm, but I will say that focus on, the rest of your body, focus on your belly as you're having sex, kind of slow down, breathe deeply, connect with your partner, look them in the eyes if you're comfortable with that. And for me, again, it kind of starts like butterflies in my stomach, and it's like this deep emotional opening, and it's very powerful. But in general, just really relaxing and allowing energy to move. I'll have full body orgasms that way as well. All right, guys, I got to jump off. Thanks everyone for joining me. Thanks for sending your questions and hanging out. Great to see you guys. Take care, and I will see you guys next week.